and welcome to a new Motor Press talk show. We are going to cover quite a few F1 topics today. In the future, it'll be multiple topics of endurance racing, IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, WEC, and all that good stuff. But today, we're heavily focused on F1. Joining us today, we have Mr. Danny and Trish, and they are going to be frequent here on every episode, actually. So a few topics we're going to cover today is Logan Sargeant and how he's going to perform in 2024, at least our projections. Alex Albon potentially going to Mercedes, or who will fill up the Mercedes seat. That sounded kind of funny. The launch of V-CARB, Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari, and how that might play out. And a few other topics, but primarily pertaining to F1. So to start us off, the liveries are not fully launched by all teams, but there's currently, I believe, 5. So with the current 5 that we have, which is Haas, Alpine, RB, Williams, and McLaren, overall, what are your guys' thoughts on how they look? Danny, you can be first.
I'm a big fan. So far, I know a lot of people are not liking the exposed carbon. I'm a big fan of that. And I know we're used to seeing more color on the grid, but I don't think that's an issue with majority of them having all carbon. I think that we'll get used to it. I like the black. It looks sleek. It looks stealthy. And, yeah, the V-CARB livery is nice. It is very bright, and it looks like the Toro Rosso. But I don't see any issues with the livery so far.
Trish?
So far, my favorite has been the V-CARB. That one's cool. I like that. Some color. My least favorite's got to be steak. I don't know about that highlighter green with the black. It's I don't know. It just looks off. But so far, yeah. V-CARB, that's my favorite one. I'm excited to see Aston Martin's.
Yeah, for me, I'm not a fan of the heavy carbon black. It was cool when McLaren did it because you didn't know all other cars were gonna be heavy carbon. But then once everyone started rolling out the carbon, you're like, okay, then it was cool if 1 or 2 did it. Like for instance, in the World Endurance Championship, you have Toyota Gazoo Racing. They went from the traditional white and red, and they went all black this year. And to them, it was like, oh, that's badass. Like it's different.
Yeah.
And because everyone else in the World Endurance Championship has different liveries, and they're not trying to save half a gram an ounce of on paint. Everyone has like an actual livery, and there's actually all black, so it looks tight. Like it looks like it's different, and it looks very stealthy and cool. But now when you flip that, and then every team here is heavy on the carbon, not even black, but heavy on the carbon. It kind of loses that like McLaren's was cool, and then I guess we're all doing this now actually,
Which is pretty funny, right? Like what a coincidence.
Yeah,
like, where did that come from?
I don't think it's a coincidence because it's one of those things of like when a team gets to know like, oh, they're doing this, they're working on this like we need to be working on that too. It becomes a thing like everyone catches on and we get what they're doing, like let's follow that suit as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So to me, yeah, I'm not a fan of it at all. That's one thing that I'm like, well, again, like I think everyone's a big favorite is going to be the R24 from Renault, that blue and the blue and yellow. Like the grid is now going to be super like there's no personality to it. Like for instance, NASCAR, and their liveries, although very heavy sponsor centric. There is a lot of diversity and like creativity and color and remember the Ric Flair one or it's fun. It's fun. It's cool. You get to see that obviously it's super sponsor heavy, but it's like it's fun. It's cool to see. You have any?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see more of that in F1 also. I know that with the cigarettes, the cigarette companies not being able to be advertised. Now you have steak, which is a gambling, but that's where that controversy is coming in with. Is that allowed? Because I think in Brazil they won't be able to show that on the car.
And Switzerland, yeah.
I think it's a couple of countries that
I would like to see more sponsors like that. I mean, Jordan, we got Logan Sargeant in there,
facts, yeah.
We got, an American in there. Jordan's very heavy into the motorsports in the scene. The NASCAR livery, he has a bunch of designs based off his shoes, and I would like to see F1 get to that point to some extent, not exactly like it, but I think they are missing that a little bit.
A little bit oomph.
Yeah, no, I think like if you look back to the if you ask like what was the best F1 livery era, like it would never be said that from the like this year, last year, like it's like you kind of miss that like what it used to be, right? Like if you think about any iconic livery, it's nowhere near the last like 5 years, right? It's like early 2000s, and even then. But anyways, yeah, I think yeah.
And even the Red Bull, as of recent years, has been pretty much the same thing. I mean, the look on Max's face, I think the last launch was pretty stale, and I think he was hoping for more also. But yeah, like the previous Red Bulls with they were Renault, the power unit, that car, the Aston Martin, that blue, that shininess of it really popped.
Yeah, so in my opinion, my opinion, try to hold it a little closer to your mouth. So me as of right now, of the 5 teams, my favorite one will have to be the Visa Cash App RB because it's not heavy on the carbon, and it does have the old AlphaTauri the Toro Rosso vibes of the. So I actually liked it the that one. So okay, cool. So we'll go into our first topic here. Is an article by motorsport.com. Title is More Confident Sargeant Gained 5 kilograms amid F1 training rethink. KG is 11 pounds for us Americans here. So Sargeant has a new training plan. He feels more confident going into the 2024 season. So just off the cuff, Trish, what do you think about Alex Albon, of Logan Sargeant into the 2024 season? I know you've been a little skeptical of him over the last year.
I have.
What do you kind of project going into 2023?
I mean, I hope he does better. I want him to do better because he's an American driver. Like, come on. It'd be very disappointing if he doesn't, but he's got to do something this season. If he doesn't do anything this season, I don't think he's gonna have a seat. Like, it's do or die. Like, he needs to do it.
Where do you put him? Well, actually, yeah, Danny, what do you think about Logan?
I think he needs more than just physical training. Like, obviously, he needs seat time. He needs a lot of seat time. I think last year he scored a 1 point.
Yeah, by technical.
Off of technical. Technically he scored a point. But I would like to, with Albon being so experienced and being ahead of his game, hopefully Sargeant learns what he can from Albon and proceeds to advance up the grid. Seeing him in last, I mean, he's no better than Latifi at this point.
Go Tiffy.
Yeah, go Tiffy. And I think he needs a lot of seat time still.
Yeah,
and confidence.
Which is interesting how they so the main article here is like how he gained weight and his new training regimen, right? So a quote here from Logan is saying, I wasn't physically in the place I need to be, and I've done everything I can to get on top of that. For example, I'm 5 kilos heavier than what I was at the end of the last year, and I feel much more healthy and much more ready to go. I feel like I'm a different man. I feel like physically I'm in the best shape I've ever been, and I believe in the condition I'm in now and will continue to get to will be simply just helping me feel more comfortable in the car and extract performance. Wow. Yeah, it's a little funny of like, I'm sure the training regimen was different. You gained 11 pounds. Like, that does make a difference, right? Like, if I gained 11 pounds right now, I would look and feel different for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not discrediting him either.
But that translated to like, okay, so, are you more confident driving now? Or like, it's perhaps maybe that made a difference. But, strictly looking at training regimen and such, I'm like, it's a little like, Well,
I mean, remember when Nick DeVries got in the car and he couldn't get up?
Factual.
So there, no discredit to Logan. Obviously, that it's good to see him wanting to get better and that fire and determination to be better. But I mean, hopefully, maybe that might be the last straw that he needed to actually gain more confidence.
Hopefully.
He's more comfortable in the car. He's not hurting after the car so much.
Yeah, that's a fact. I want him to do well. I've been a fan of him. I wouldn't say a fan, but I've supported him more so. Like it's not like I go to the F1 race and I want to go see Logan, or I'm looking at him at the back of the field when the race is going on. But I do want to show support and like not just like belittle him. Same thing with Nick DeVries. Like I didn't really like him, but I never not supported him. So with Logan going to the new year, I really want him to do well. I really want him, especially like as an American driver as well, just to have someone rep us, you know what I'm saying? So to me, I want him to do well.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like, we can have a quick talk on this one of, like, if he doesn't perform well this year, will they axe Logan Sargeant?
I think so. I mean, come on. This is his what? He's not a rookie anymore. He's gotta put something on the board. He's gotta get points, more than 1 point.
I think it just depends on where Alex is also and how well the car is. If Alex is, again, way up in points and Alex and Sargeant isn't, then yeah, that's when you start to question how long you should keep, a hold of this guy. And, with so many drivers being available in 2025, yes, Williams isn't as big of a team for these older, more experienced drivers to go, but there's a lot of young talent out there, and I think they can find somebody, potentially to fit that seat and do well.
Which is interesting because if there are talks of Alex Albon not staying, he has a contract until the end of 2025, right? So I wonder if if Alex Albon decides to leave at the end of 2025 to another team, then that means William will be out of their main driver.
Yeah. Which
means now if Logan Sargeant improves, maybe not to the extent of like he's an all-star or like he's that guy, but I think that kind of puts Williams in a little bit of a crux of like, well, we don't want to get rid of both drivers. Now, if Alex Albon leaves to another team, well, Sargeant kind of knows the system already, and yeah, he's not good, but at least he can help the if there is a better driver that goes to Williams, like, well, he can just kind of help him onboard him, like just kind of, show him how we work things. He's not the main driver. He won't be that guy, but like, we don't want to start off with two rookies again that we try to build. So I wonder if that kind of puts Williams in the crux of like.
Yeah, Alex is leaving for sure at the end of 25.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll stay at Williams past 25. There's so many opportunities for Alex at this point in his career. Sargeant, they may keep him there, and if they bring somebody else in and they outperform Sargeant, then I can see them axing Sargeant at that point. But there's just so much talent there.
There is,
and there's so many drivers available. Yeah, I mean there's so many drivers available that you kind of need to have a short leash at this point with him.
Yeah, so you're saying if Alex Albon leaves, you'll say he leaves, and Logan Sargeant doesn't perform that well, where it's like, okay, he's not performing, you'd think they'd start a new slate with two new drivers, and you're saying you're even saying maybe even a rookie again, like. Is that, I don't know if he's still considered a rookie. Like, it's not a full season.
I think they'd consider him a rookie.
That's what I'm saying. So they would bring on a new rookie plus a new driver as well in one go. Because they've seen, Haas did that, and that didn't turn out as well. So I don't know if that serves as a cautionary tale of, like, maybe we shouldn't have two, not rookies, but, like, two new guys that just entered our team.
But
that's not the best way to go.
They know how Liam Lawson is going to perform. Like, they have a range of how he's going to perform because he's already done, 3 or 4 races already? So it's not like they're going into this blind, like, oh my God, can he even get in the car? Like he knows something.
And not just that, like right now with Carlos needing the seat, which he probably already knows where he's going, but that leaves somebody on the grid right now without a seat wherever Carlos goes, right? If it's Bottas, if it's Zoe, I mean, I can see them going to a team like Williams, especially with like if Audi comes in and they want a Carlos or, because of his ties with that group. But that leaves for a veteran out, in the grid without a seat. And I think if Williams knows Albon will leave in 25, they might replace Sargeant before then. I don't know what his contract was that he just recently signed, but I could see them axing him for somebody with more experience, like, for example, Bottas. And with Albon leaving, that would only leave one rookie there, per se, to fill that seat, So you have a veteran and you have a younger guy.
I mean, they have options for sure.
Yeah, I can see that. Bottas going to Williams, and then he has a connection to Mercedes. And it was, that you can actually see that possibility. So that kind of leads to the next question here of where do you see if he leaves in 2025? Which if you see those other interviews that he had, he's like, I'm ready to be at a championship winning contender. Like, I want to fight for the podium.
Yeah.
I'm close to my peak in terms of like I want to strike now. If I were to, it's time to start to fight for championships. So where would you see Albon going at the end of 2025?
I mean, I would love to see him on at the top of the grid. So Mercedes, obviously, I think he deserves it. Definitely deserves a seat at one of the top spots. I would love to see him at Mercedes. I think that'd be cool. Like, he can. Red Bull. I don't see him going back to Red Bull. I don't see that at all. I do see Mercedes though, and I really hope he gets one of those seats.
Yeah, I mean that's the only really seat left in the top, of the field. I don't see him going to Red Bull. I mean that's not to say he won't, but I think with Carlos out there, they're he's a pretty hot commodity, and if they can make that Red Bull, if they can get him and replace Checo with Carlos, I think Mercedes would be the only fit for Albon, and I don't know where Checo goes at that point, but if he even stays racing. But Albon to Mercedes seems to be the only real option for him. If he goes to Alpine, because I know Esteban has ties as a reserve driver for Mercedes. Mm-hmm. If he goes there, then maybe he goes to Alpine, but I don't know how much better that is than Williams.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if you say, like, I want a top seat at a top team, it's like, well, by default, they're going to be limited seats anyways, right? So it's one to we can be saying all this, but then when 2025 comes at the end of the season,
it's already
and he's like, well, damn, like, I can move to, let's say, Audi or wherever, and it's like, well, that might not be a top team though, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like he at the end, and at the end of the day too, with drivers moving around, with Lewis going to Ferrari, with this, that, they also want to get paid too. You know what I'm saying? So if Williams offer a sizable check of like, hey, we'll also pay you X amount more, it's like, he's like, well, I do want to contend, but at the same time, I need to secure this bag now, because if I don't see him going back to Red Bull, because if he does that, the optics of like, and he doesn't perform well, the optics of like, you were at Red Bull already, couldn't perform, you went back, you said you're ready, you got trained up at Williams, goes back to Red Bull and doesn't perform, he's done.
Yeah.
He killed his shot of like, so my thing would be like, a lot. I don't see him.
And I think Stroll is a big factor in all of this, right?
Yeah,
I don't know how long Stroll really is going to be there. I know his dad won't fire him, and if he does, that'd be pretty crazy. Yeah. I do see that he would be probably retiring before he gets fired, and
that or his dad leaves, Ashton.
Yeah, but I think if his dad leaves, he leaves.
Or like he sells the team. I saw that there might be. Well, there was speculation about that a couple months ago, but he never clarified on that. But I think the only way Stroll is gonna leave Ashton is if he retires or if his dad sells the team.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I do see that being also a big factor into the grid of the driver's grid, later on in the years, 26. Mm-hmm. Who knows if he makes it past this year?
Yeah.
He doesn't ever seem too happy.
Okay, and then next topic here that we have is about the V-CARB and their launch. So an article here by The Race was talking about the launch of the V-CARB. It was, I believe, in Las Vegas. It was kind of an exclusive launch because I don't think you were able to watch it anywhere. It was, you had to be invited or VIP of some sort. So, kind of how we mentioned that, one team did maybe they decided to do the carbon, and then other teams were like, oh, that's what they're doing. Like, let's follow suit, right? So do you see a problem with V-CARB having like an exclusivity launch, like being an exclusive launch and not public facing? Because then the problem is if over the next years, like, oh, that was actually a cool launch, it was more intimate, whatever. Oh, hey, by the way, next year Red Bull's also having an exclusive launch. Oh, hey, by the way, next year Audi's having an exclusive.
It becomes all
hey, by the way,
exclusive.
so now it's like, oh, not only because F1's already seen as this like kind of exclusivity, right? Only drivers that have the money and funds can go racing, and now in today's time with the ticket prices, it's like, there's these like super expensive, like crazy deals and packages that you can go to. So it's getting more and more expensive, and F1's kind of seen as an exclusive club, relative to other sports. So how do you do you have any thoughts on like how the launch of V-CARB and like it being more exclusive and the potential of that becoming a trend with other F1 teams?
I don't really mind. It's not like I could afford to go anyways. I get the whole Vegas thing. Daniel Ricciardo being a big football fan in relationship with the Bills quarterback Josh Allen, with the Super Bowl being in town the same weekend, there was no better place to do it.
It makes sense,
I think,
almost,
and they did it at midnight. Nothing happens in Vegas during the day that's worthwhile attending, I believe. So I honestly just look at Instagram on the days that they were scheduled to release anyways. I don't lose any sleep over missing an event of a livery review.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind it at all either. I mean, it was nice to see like they did like post all the images on Instagram and everything. So it was, it was cool to see that. But I mean, overall, I didn't mind it. Like it was fine. Like.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. To me, yeah, I'm kind of against that too, just because, like I said, like F1's already seen as an exclusive club of drivers or members or teams, and it's the most expensive this, and like it just keeps like if for instance, if you go to like a IMSA, WEC race, an IndyCar, everything's very open, everything is always public, everything is very like transparent, or for the most part, the drivers are walking by you, you have very close access, or you can buy the paddock access for like $50 or something, very affordable, very like open. Obviously F1 is at that popularity level where like hundreds of thousands of people, but still it's like it's just another thing that they're doing of like, hey, this is of already an exclusive club where you're paying these super high ticket prices, where you're doing all this, hey, let's also make it even more exclusive. And the problem that I see too is like if that becomes a trend, and then you have to hey, if you guys want to come watch, hey, could it be at some point like, hey, pay $50, basically like a pay-per-view to watch the unveil. You turn it into an event where you sell tickets to go and see the livery in person. It's not that right now, but usually things start very simple, and then, hey, by the way, if you want to watch it, here's a V-CARB subscription for $9 a month to watch or whatever. So to me as a whole, it's like, yeah, I didn't like the way that they did that, because again, F1 as a whole is already kind of this exclusive thing. So, and again, you tie it back to like the whole F1 rejecting Andretti, and it's like, oh, like it just keeps on adding of like, oh, we're more exclusive, we're exclusive, we're exclusive. We're exclusive, we're exclusive. So to me, I don't like that at all.
I mean, Williams did theirs in New York City pretty much open to the public,
I
believe.
very open.
But I mean, if you have the patience and you're okay with being around hundreds of people like that in a small confined area, by all means, have at it. But I don't really mind the exclusiveness of that. I mean, it's just a livery reveal.
It's just a livery. Like honestly, I don't even like. Okay, like, but is the car good? Like how's the car gonna perform? Right? Like the livery, I don't really care for any of the launches. I just want to see if the car can perform.
Yeah. To me, I just feel like it sets a bad precedent moving forward. But again, that's why I wouldn't put F1. That's just another thing for me, like why I don't put F1 as my top, because it's just another thing you have to do, and it's like I don't agree with that. Like it doesn't align with like what I would want to see in a sport, right? Like that's not what. It's the same thing with the off topic a little bit, but how they just revealed the Kobe Bryant statue. And if it was like, if it was closed off to the public, it's like, well, that doesn't kind of feel right. Again, completely different, because it's, what happened, to Kobe. But to me, I don't agree with that at all. Anyways, aside from that, what do you think about their name? Visa Cash App RB, which is racing. It's called. Is it Racing Bull or is it Red Bull?
It's Red Bull.
It's Red Bull. Okay, yeah. So off the cuff, what do you think about their name?
It can be just you can pronounce it as V-CARB. That actually sounds better than the steak one. To me, the steak Sauber or whatever whatever that name is. But to me, it's a name. I don't really mind it too much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing, really, because where did Racing Bulls even come from? Like, was that even like, were they like?
As far as the speculation.
Yeah, as far as speculation, because I thought it was Racing Bulls until I was like, oh wait, I saw the articles and I was like, oh, it's Red Bull, which is funny because they're trying to step away from the whole Red Bull, like we're our own team, but then they go back to the Toro Rosso kind of looking livery, and then they have Red Bull in their name, so it's like, are y'all?
What's the actual game plan?
What's the identity here? Like, what's the identity? Are y'all moving away from Red Bull, or are you like what is it?
Yeah.
So it's confusing. Like, I feel like their identity right now is like, they don't know what they are.
And I think the car had some similarities to the Red Bull of last year. So,
yeah.
If that car is fast, that's gonna cause a lot of issues with other teams wanting to get rid of that whole partnership with Red Bull,
which they already do too. Like they're already like, I think it was Zach Brown from McLaren who was like wrote a whole letter and like said that they like, this is not acceptable. They need to do something about this. Like,
yeah, which actually with that I can jump to our next topic here of like, do you think it's fair that Red Bull owns two teams?
I mean, at the beginning maybe, because remember they asked the head honcho Red Bull to to purchase that team because F1 was at a really like sketchy, like they didn't have a lot of money, a lot of funding, a lot of viewers, like they wanted somebody to purchase that team. So I mean, they did them a favor of buying the team, and then they're like, okay, it'll be our sister team, you know. Like, I think at that time it was fine, it was okay, right? But now it's starting to be a little bit, well, you know, how are we gonna do this? Like,
but if the car was like right there being competitive with Red Bull, then that's where the issue arises, right? But with it being so far down the grid still, I mean, what actually, you know, are they doing it together if they're supposed to be, you know, working together, you know? That car shouldn't be that far low if they were really close, you know, with the Red Bull, you know, as far as design and aerodynamics and all that.
So you're saying it's fine for them to have a second team?
As long as they're not right there competing with them, right? I mean, then that's, you know.
But let's say, because I think there were reports that they would have worked more closely together.
Well, they moved their factory. Like,
so let's say instead of bottom of the field, they're now mid pack.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So then you'd have a problem.
Yeah.
So then the question is, at what point do you stop it then, right? Because I don't think F1 can. I don't know, but it's like optics wise, it would look bad if F1 says, "Hey, you now have to sell this," right? Because like you're forcing a team you're putting your hand inside their operation, so it looks a little ugly to do that, optics wise. But Zach Brown has been very open about like, hey, like this is not cool. Like you shouldn't have two teams under your name, because then again, like sharing resources or data, or even it is true, like even training drivers of like, hey, go to our quote unquote sister junior team, work up the system, learn the car, learn F1, and then when you're ready, come over here.
But Mercedes and Williams, like
so that's the next question too, of like, well, if that's a problem of owning two teams, then what is to say not the same problem, but it's in the same category of like, well, you know, Williams and Mercedes, Haas to Ferrari, McLaren to Mercedes. You're just a customer team. You don't build your own power unit. So what do you do you think there's any correlation between those two things, or is one better, worse, more accepted than the other?
I mean, there's with the power unit thing, I you know, it's the same thing, right? You have four manufacturers of power units. I mean, that's what happened with Red Bull and Renault. Mm-hmm. They were, you know, they kept having power unit issues, and the Renault wasn't, you know. So, you know, was there sabotage, you know, going on there? Yeah. With AlphaTauri, you know, with like, again, if Yuki and Daniel were purposely parking off the track, you know, because they needed Max to catch up or Checo to catch up to get into that first place, then that's when you start questioning it to me, you know, like if there's race,
like if they're trying to help them, or
like they're just like they're sabotaging the race, right? To help Max catch up or help Checo catch up to wherever they need to be, you know. Then that's where it becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because like if you look at any other, like any major, for instance, here in the U.S., our three major sports, MLB, NFL, NBA, wouldn't no one even question you being able to own two teams like that, right? Like not in the same organization, because it's just there's so many protocols and policies in place to like make sure, quote unquote, it stays a fair game, amongst many other rules. Like they try to be very stringent on like, let's try to keep this very clean and organized and keep the competition, you know, quote unquote, as fair as possible. So to me personally, like even when I first started learning about it, of both things, when you have customer teams, like, you know, engine suppliers, and then learning that like Red Bull has two teams, you're like, that's quite interesting, because whether you can point to it or not, it's like there is some level of conflict of interest. Like there has to be, like, you cannot have no conflict of interest when the same person giving you money is you're directly competing against them. Or if you have two teams, there's not in no way that you can't use anything from the other team to help you in some fashion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in the beginning, I feel like it made sense, right? Because they needed that. They needed them to buy that team. But now they're in a situation now, because it's like, what do we tell them to sell, or like what are we gonna do now? You know, like I feel like in the beginning it made sense, right? It helped F1 out, but now it's like, okay, now it's starting to get a little tricky around, you know. And
that looks bad, because now it's like, well, hey, since you know, hey, we're doing well now, so you just sell us a team. So optics wise, you can't tell them to do that. Like you just can't do it. But overall, when I learned about that, I'm like, okay, that's a little interesting. It's a little different than how most sports would operate, to my knowledge, right? Like, it doesn't sound too like. It just sounds like it's an easy backdoor to share things without ever claiming like, oh, we don't use any of theirs. Where it's like, just backdoor, just give me all the information that I need.
I mean, look at Esteban as a reserve driver for Mercedes, right? And he's on Alpine. So I mean, there's just, like you said, so much conflict of interest that I don't see anything being an issue right now with the V-CARB.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
So
Unless
then
they start doing well on the grid.
so then let's say next. Okay, so like during COVID, right? Four teams were on the brink of like not making it through, right? I think it was Haas, Williams, and 2 other ones that they didn't identify. But Gunther Steiner was like, hey, like 4 teams were at the table saying, are we going to be here next year, right? Mm-hmm. So then let's say at that time, right? Let's say Mercedes. They're like, oh, by the way, we'll buy out Williams. That would be a junior team to us, not a customer team, but like we would buy them out as well. Yeah. How would that change anything? And for instance, if any other team buys out another team and now they have 2 teams, would that change your opinion on anything?
Well, you see,
because now 4 teams will be owned to two teams. Would that change your perspective of anything?
No, I mean it just depends on where the car ends up on the grid, right? And if the car is similar, I mean the pink, car, the BWT car.
Oh yeah, the Race India or Force India.
It was a pink Mercedes, I mean.
I wish they would have brought back. They
sold,
the
I think, the rights to that, or I don't know,
something like that.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. I don't see any issue with.
No,
with,
you don't. Oh yeah,
I don't. I mean, if F1 is in need of help, right? It's either that or nothing. So I mean, to keep it going, have at it.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. To me, right now, that since that's a special case, like I would say, like you asked them to buy it, like they did it, like they helped you out. But now I would like to see the FIA put a regulation in place of saying one majority owner to one team, not have like a bunch of different, like, hey, I own this one, I own that one. Like that to me doesn't.
And maybe, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, to me it's just like if you look at it from a high level overview, it's like F1. There's a lot of gray area around there. There's a lot of little like, why is it set up like that? It kind of. It's just, again, comparing it to the other 3 sports that we watch, the big 3 here in America. It's like it's ran a lot different than how we would do things. Again, and I don't think it's like comparing it to like America, but more so like anyone that looks at it saying, oh, so you own both these teams, and you guys like share? Like, no, we don't share. Like, you don't share anything. Like, Red Bull owns it. Y'all don't do anything about this, So that's where I'm kind of getting at. It's a lot of gray area that they work in. But okay, our last one, we can wrap it up with this one here, is the F1 going to more and more street circuits. So as a quick recap, in 2023, there were 7 races, I believe, that were on the street circuits. And there's that talk of, well, not talk, but it was confirmed that F1 confirmed that it signed a 10-year deal with the Madrid event, which will feature a purpose-built paddock facility in the heart of the city. So it's a street circuit, but there's going to be like a permanent, kind of what they did with Las Vegas, that there will be a permanent paddock there for future events. So what are your thoughts on street circuits? Do you like them? Are you excited were you excited for the Las Vegas and then how it came out, the news with Madrid signing a 10-year deal already? And then our current state of just like street circuits, the purpose-built tracks.
I mean, I'm not too much of a big fan of the street circuits, but we haven't seen the track yet, and the racing action that's going to happen there. I know Vegas, a lot of people didn't like it, and that was one of the best races of that season. So I personally don't like the street circuits. I'd prefer them to be on actual tracks, but we'll see when it comes to that track. I mean, 10 years is a lengthy time to just sign,
That's a long time.
And I guess if you're going to build something that's going to stay there for a while, maybe open it up to the public and let people just walk around, then I guess that's cool, right? That would be cool if they did it here, where we're at, and we can just go over there and they do events there or whatever, that would be cool. But as far as street circuits go, I'm not too big of a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them either. I feel like they're just adding too many, and also the drivers, they don't even like the street circuits. Like majority of the drivers don't like the street circuits, and it's like, I don't know. I just rather them have it on like the designated like actual tracks itself.
Yeah, because you kind of limit the GA areas, right?
Yeah.
If we want to go watch a race somewhere, there's probably designated areas, but like if you go to, for example, COTA, there's so many GA areas and bleachers there that you can pretty much see anywhere in the track. And I know with street circuits like in Indy, there's very minimal viewing points in GA areas.
Yeah. I mean, so for instance, here real quick is that between 1996 and 2007, Formula One only had 2 street circuits, which is Monaco and Australia. And obviously, like that is cool. Like having a few street circuits, that's cool. Like obviously Monaco, the Las Vegas one turned out to be fantastic. So it's like if you could keep that one.
And I like Australia. I like the Australia circuit.
Yeah. So I think a few are always nice because it is different. Like it just the configuration, the track, like everything is different because it's a street circuit. But yeah, I feel like they are going a little too heavy on the street circuits.
Yeah, too heavy.
And at the same time, like maybe it's one of those like because for the Madrid one, it was more like the environmentally friendly thing, right? Instead of having a purpose built track, like let's say Spa or Silver, even though they just secured Silverstone again. Like I can see where like because it's such a huge investment. Like I think to build COTA, it was $700 million. I think moving forward, like they're looking at it 30 years from now of saying, okay, well, eventually we're going to have to start kind of going through these tracks a little more. So it's like, well, it's a pretty big sell to a developer, whoever, to say, hey, you have to raise $800 million to build this track. By the way, we'll sign a 10-year deal, but after that, we're not going to use this track anymore. And it's like, well, we don't want to do that. The costs are rising and everything. So maybe it's they're going in the angle of like, it's just more sustainable to where you don't have to pin $800 million to a developer to build this thing. And then if it doesn't work out, or if the weekend, if it turns, it's a rained out weekend and it's like you projected, X amount of $1 million to make in a weekend, it rained out, you cut the attendance by 20% now, so it's like, I think like risk wise financially to everything associated around building a dedicated purpose built track, the street circuit is like, oh, well, we kind of put it up for 1 or 2 weekends. It kind of pisses off the locals, but I mean, damn, we save a lot of money, and we don't ping the liability to that person of saying, build us that, and we'll be here for 10 years. But after that, like, hey, it's on you. It's not like you keep the track open 24/7 as it's a regular business. You only make money when there's events going on, assuming the weather is nice enough for an event to go on. So on that side, I can see it, but I'd rather just see purpose-built tracks. Yeah, that's what I like. Yeah,
again, like the street circuit, you got to close down the city, the town, and it's a big headache for people for locals and businesses. Vegas was a big one, and it actually a lot of the people actually despise F1 for being there and closing down their businesses or charging them a crazy amount of money to stay open.
Hotels and
the
everything.
Hotels. Miami had the same thing. People were trying to sue F1 because of the road closures and the just the obstructions that they had in the city.
Yeah, so I could see that part too. But if like all the big tracks, like for instance COTA, right? That's in the middle of nowhere, right? So it also is cool though. Like for instance, when we went to IndyCar Nashville, it was cool that like, oh, we're also in the city though, right? Like so we went to downtown and then you just walked to the track and then you came back and we didn't experience any heavy, well, aside from the regular Sunday traffic because it's honky tonk and all that. But aside from that, like it was nice to like, oh, our hotel's only 15 minutes from here. It's already in the city. So after qualifying or before qualifying or after the race, we literally just walked out. Oh, we're already in the city. Like there's food, there's things, there's events, there's things. So in that regard, I do see it like, oh, it actually does kind of help the city more because if you built it like in Austin, like you're not in Austin. You know what I'm saying? Like COTA's not in Austin. Like you got to drive out there, right?
But
so go ahead.
But also remember, IndyCar's audience is not.
Yeah, attendance wise for sure.
F1 is going to be. There's going to be a lot more people for F1 than IndyCar.
Just imagine F1.
But,
if you want,
that would have been a night.
I don't see a lot of other purpose-built tracks being made. So, like I don't see another COTA being made here in America. Well, for instance, okay, COTA was probably, to my knowledge, one of the most recent tracks that have been built because of F1.
I think it was 2012.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Road America, Laguna Seca, any other track in America, 1940s, Daytona, the Daytona Sebring, 1960, 1925, 1947, 19. So like I don't see anyone also dumping another 400 million to build a track for who? Like F1? Like I don't. Hey, we'll just put it in Chicago. You know, like Chicago Grand Prix, another track circuit. You know, so I also don't see anyone building tracks again.
Yeah, but I think motorsports is gaining traction here a lot more than it did before. I mean, NASCAR was the main one here, I believe, and now F1 is kind of gaining that popularity because of, you know, the whole Drive to Survive thing, and you know, during COVID, nobody else could go outside, so they just stayed in watching, you know, races. But I do see. I mean, I'd be interested to see how much money Coda brings in a year, you know, for F1, and if that's worthwhile, makes it worthwhile, you know, to build one, you know, elsewhere in the United States.
I can see that.
A track that Indy can use, a track that NASCAR can use, something that all three can use. I know NASCAR is going to Indy. I mean to Coda. Indy not yet, or they did it for 1 year and they haven't been back. But if there's a track that can host everything, MotoGP, you know, all that stuff, then why not, right?
Yeah, that's true, because a lot of the tracks now, like IndyCar can use them, which like, yeah, it's because like, yeah, F1 has to be such a much big, like I could not see F1 at Laguna Seca or Road America or Barber Motorsports in Alabama, or, you know, they're just it's just like it's like not kids game, but like it's just they operate at a different level. You know what I'm saying? So okay, that was it. We'll end the episode right there. Danny, Trish, thank you for joining in, and we'll talk to everyone on the next one.